More breaking news as Auburn has now found their new head coach in Hugh Freeze, who is making a return to the SEC. And this one has a lot of different strings being pulled on it. A lot of people are probably unhappy about this, some very happy about it. Let's talk about what some are considering a kind of controversial hire here in the SEC for the Auburn Tigers. All right, let's start with the off-field stuff because that does need to be addressed. He is not the model citizen. I think if we're all being honest, we've all done some things that we regret in the past. I don't know if he still has any other issues or anything going on, but we know about the stuff that he's done, getting caught texting escorts from a school phone, messages that he sent to women, all that other stuff aside. He's done some things off the field, and more than likely, that has all been overlooked here. John Cohen, who is the new athletic director for the Auburn Tigers, was at Mississippi State when Freeze was at Ole Miss. And they were looking to find all this kind of dirt. They helped find the things that ended up getting him fired and him having to go to Liberty. So John Cohen is very well aware of who Hugh Freeze is and probably knows some of the skeletons in his closet that we may not even know. And I don't even know that this is necessarily a move that he wanted to make. We know that a lot of this stuff is being pulled. A lot of strings are being pulled behind the scenes here by these Auburn boosters. My assumption would be that the Auburn boosters really wanted this hire because they believe Hugh Freeze is going to be able to help them win. And that is all they care about. And as crappy as a thing that is to say, a lot of football programs, all they really care about is winning. And they do overlook a lot of things that people do on and off the field. So that all being said, we're going to move past that part. If you want to dive more into his off-field stuff, go feel free. You can type in Hugh Freeze and Google's going to give you a list of it. So regardless, John Cohen is, I guess, going to be okay with that as the athletic director. I do believe it's probably more the boosters thing on that. That being said, we do know that Hugh Freeze can win. He's done a phenomenal job at Liberty the past couple of years. Been a top offense there. Now, they are an independent school, so it is kind of hard to judge them against SEC competition. But even this year, they were a very good team, and they were playing very well, even when they had to go to their backup quarterback, who then got hurt, and they had to go to their third-string quarterback, and still this offense was able to put up points. Hugh Freeze, I do think, will be able to come in here and play well. When he was at Ole Miss, they had a very good offense. In fact, he beat Alabama and Nick Saban in back-to-back years. This was probably still right around the time that Bama was becoming what it has become now, but still, to be able to go in and beat Nick Saban in back-to-back years is a pretty good feat. You know, we talk all the time. None of his assistant coaches have ever been able to do that. In fact, very few of them have even done that. Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher are the only two, I believe, that have actually now, got a feather in their cap that they've been able to beat Nick Saban after working for him. So even Lane Kiffin, who was in the talks to become the Auburn's next head coach, has yet to really beat him. So that is a feather in Hugh Freeze's cap. Where I do think Hugh Freeze will succeed here is he was a former high school coach. He knows the recruiting game and was recruited fairly well at Liberty with the limitations that Liberty had on them. He now goes to a school like Auburn that I think he will be able to recruit fairly well. Georgia, Florida, Alabama. He will be able to recruit those, and with the supposed NIL war chest that Auburn has been saving up, I do think he will have some money behind him with that as well to bring in these top recruits, and that is the big thing for Auburn. I have stated before, I think Auburn is roughly a top 15 to 20 job in college football. So I do think that this is a great place for you to be able to build a program and be a contender. And I do think Hugh Freeze will be able to do that because he knows offense and he knows the recruiting game. And as long as he's able to bring in these top recruits, I think he'll be able to develop them well enough to be able to compete with the Georgias and the Alabamas of the world. Now, will that happen next year? Probably not. But could that happen the next 2-3 years? I absolutely think so. My big thing with him is I would really try to keep Cadillac Williams, who has really kind of revitalized this team since Brian Harsin has been let go. There's been a lot of recruiting stuff. If you listen to these guys who've come in there and said that they love his energy, they love what he's doing with the Auburn program, I think it would be very smart of him to keep Cadillac there, especially with early signing day right around the corner. Let Cadillac keep going out there recruiting, show that he's going to be a part of this program, and allow them to bring in some of these top recruits because Auburn has been lacking in that. Brian Harsin was not a real recruiter. And I do think that has kind of hurt them. He wanted to come into the SEC. It felt like an out coach guys like Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. You're not going to be able to do it if you don't have talent. And Auburn was kind of lacking that, unfortunately. He'll probably have to hit the transfer portal fairly quickly as well if the Auburn team wants to be competitive this year. Again, I would not expect much out of them in their first season. I expect them to be fairly good, though, moving forward. I do think this is a good hire because of what he can do, again, as I mentioned, offensively and in the recruiting game, knowing the recruiting game, being a former high school coach and having top-tier players at his high school. So he should be able to turn this around fairly quickly. The big thing will be is can he keep, for lack of a better word, his nose clean? Can he keep the off-field stuff away? We haven't heard a ton at Liberty. There has been one or two incidents, but if he can keep his nose clean and do the job on the field, I do think Auburn can get back to some high-end possibility. And again, we're looking at a possible 12-team playoff expansion coming soon within the next couple years. And I know Texas and Oklahoma will be joining the SEC in 2 years, and we might be looking at 12-team playoff at that point. Auburn could very realistically be in that 12-team scenario every single year if, again, they can nail the recruiting and the offense stays good, which I do think Hugh Freeze will be able to do at Auburn. And is Nick Saban really going to coach for another decade? I don't know. But I think once he's gone, that also helps out not just Hugh Freeze, but the entire SEC because the dude is the best of all time. That all being said, I think it's going to make fun for the Iron Bowl. Now, again, Hugh Freeze was able to beat Saban 2 years in a row at Ole Miss. Just bring some new revitalization to one of the better rivalry games on rivalry weekend with the Iron Bowl with him coming to Auburn. Let's see. It's just win, baby. That is exactly what these boosters want, and we'll see if Hugh Freeze is able to do that for the Auburn Tigers. Guys, if you like this kind of content, hit the like button, subscribe to the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that bell icon. There's been a ton of coaching changes already. We've dropped videos on those. The transfer portal, it's not even December 5th yet, which is when the transfer portal opens up. We've already got a ton of players jumping in. We will be here to go over all of that as much as possible and as often as possible. So you'll want to have that bell icon on so you don't miss a video. Thank you guys so much for checking out this channel. Comment below what you think about Hugh Freeze and the hire. We will be back again soon. You guys have yourselves a great